Good morning. How's your week been? Lots of things happening. We're preparing to go home to Romania, and so we're really busy winding down, having our last meetings, our last cups of coffee. But it's exciting to be working for God. So many things can happen in a day that we don't expect to happen, but life sure is exciting. I've been thinking this week about obedience. How difficult it is sometimes for us to obey. We're always happy when other people obey, but it's not so easy when we have to do the obeying. Sometimes God speaks to us to do something, but we don't really want to do it. It doesn't fit into our busy schedule, and we try to disobey him. I've been reading this week about Jonah and how God told him to go to Tarshish and to preach against the people there because they were committing sin and they were doing bad stuff. But no, Jonah didn't want to do that. He wanted to go his own way. He was afraid. So you know the story of Jonah. He ran away and he ended up in a ship. And he was crazy. He told the guys when he arrived in the ship, I'm running away from God. And sometimes we run away from God and it's not a very wise thing to do because God finds us and he sees us wherever we are. And that was the story of Jonah. And he told the guys on the ship, all the crew, I'm running away from God. And then he went down to the base of the ship and he fell asleep. I don't know how he can fall asleep so peacefully because then a storm arose and he slept right through the storm. But the men soon found him and said, look, we're going to cast lots here. And I'm sure it's Jonah's fault that we're in this mess. So he said, Jonah himself said, well, throw me overboard. What are you willing to die for? Jonah was willing to die for his disobedience. Well, that's a big thing. To die for your own disobedience. Nothing's worth dying for. And he should have just turned back and obeyed God, but he didn't. He continued on and they flung him overboard. But God's plan was there and he had a big fish and swallowed him up. And then the rest of we know the story, he was vomited onto the sand. That hadn't been a very pleasant, it's almost easier to obey God the first time than be vomited onto the sand. And that was what happened to him. He was vomited onto the sand and then he really decided, well, I think I should obey God. How many times have you been in church and the offerings come round and you've thought to yourself, I need to put in a tenner. I should put in £10. And you think, oh, well, that's a lot of money. I can buy a fish supper for £10 or I can buy 4 cakes. And then we think, well, what we'll do is we'll put in a £2 and that'll be okay because God doesn't, he doesn't need our money. So we put in the £2 and then halfway through we think, what are you doing? Why didn't you put in the money in the first place? How greedy can you be? And then you end up going back and you put in the tenner as well. So your obedience cost you £2. How many times we don't obey? And the first time it's easier. The second time it often costs us more. This morning, if you're being prompted to do something, if you feel that God has told you to do something and you're thinking, no, I don't want to do that. That doesn't fit into my busy schedule. No, I've got my own things to do. I want to do something different. I want to serve him in a different way. I'm sure God's making a mistake here. Maybe he doesn't know my personality. Maybe he doesn't know that I'm shy, or maybe he doesn't know that I want to talk to people. But, God knows everything about you. But he still wants your obedience. And obedience is costly, but disobedience costs more. Please today, take stock of where you are. I've been tested on this myself. God telling me to do something and I don't want to do it, and I've stalled and I've hindered, and then we lose our peace. And when you lose your peace, it isn't a good thing. So this morning, don't wait till you lose your peace. Go ahead and do what God tells you to do. It is costly, not so costly as disobedience. Have a good week, praying that God blesses you really well and that you're healthy and strong and that you're obeying him the first time round. God bless you.